into the pick and ban for the final game. It's going to be LeBlanc and Sivir taken off the board here by Longzhu, who are over on the blue side. Ryze so far from CJ.
Yeah, I like this Sivir ban quite a bit. Although the LeBlanc is a bit weird. I would have expected Bard, Kindred, Sivir, but instead they decide that that Sivir Karma pick composition was actually the primary issue that they faced, and they were collapsed on very quickly, and it was played well by CJ, so I do understand the logic behind those bans. CJ just mirroring the bans they had in the first game of the series. Question will be whether they ban the Nidalee or not, and Bard is going to be available for MadLife or Pure. Both of them are good Bard players.
Well, we'll see. We can only guess that it should be the Nidalee coming through here as the final ban, but they could shake it up a little bit and try to ban something else. It's actually going to be the Vladimir, so Nidalee does make it through yet again for Chaser if they want to go for that.
Well, they took the win against Nidalee, so maybe they're not convinced that that is going to be the best pick for Chaser. He did win on Rek'Sai in game number 1, and they may just go ahead and take the Swain immediately once again, but they won't be able to pair it mercifully for us with the Vladimir this time.
Well, they will lock it up, so we'll see if that's going to be for Coco or Expession in the top side. Now looks like Haru might want to try his hand at the Nidalee.
I think Chaser's going to be just fine on the Rek'Sai if he has to go that direction.
He did a very good job in the first game.
Lucian may be the takeaway.
Yeah, he was banned in the last game by CJ. And Kramer does love him some Lucian.
Ember did fine on the Ezreal in the last game, though. He actually did more damage to champions than anybody else in the game.
He also stole a Baron?
He also stole a Barons, and he also played well, except for that one face check. I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
So Lucian and Nidalee will be the lock-in. So some early hints at a pick composition, which may prompt a Braum to be taken here by the likes of Longzhu Gaming.
See, if not, CJ could just grab up that Braum for themselves. You know, MadLife is perfectly happy, content with playing that.
CJ really committing to the early game this time, which we've had questions about, but they did it well in the last game, you have to admit. They snowballed their advantage, it took 2 kills and turned it into a Baron in 24 minutes.
Which really, if they want to go for early game, we could just see that Bard come out for MadLife. You know, Bard plus Lucian. It's a pretty devastating lane. The Rek'Sai available, but now the hover coming through onto the Graves. Just kind of playing with their options.
Bard and Graves.
Okay.
Some pretty good scaling here in the Graves and the Swain for the likes of Longzhu. No shortage of damage just yet. I do wonder what they're going to be pairing with the Bard, whether they're thinking about picking up an Ezreal or a Caitlyn here.
Caitlyn would be a really oppressive lane.
Yeah, I think Caitlyn is probably what they should want, considering they're going to have buy time for the Graves and the Swain to farm.
Yeah.
But it also would mean that they should have a TP mid laner and try and do some sort of 1-3-1 split push in an ideal world.
Yeah. Enemy's got that Swain. You don't know if it's top or mid.
It's true.
Like CJ might be looking to play around with a Maokai pickup. Ekko is also available. But there we go. And maybe, he long hovered on the Thresh for a while there. Got me excited, but the Braum makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they need to start building up a front line right now, considering they are not going to have a tanky jungler, and at least with the Braum, they will be able to block some of the incoming damage in the laning phase from the Bard. So Braum is what it's going to be, and I think that Untara did do well in the Maokai last game, so go ahead and give it to him. Remember at the beginning of this year, before anyone else was playing Maokai, it was Untara playing the Maokai as a pocket pick. So it's long been something that CJ is accustomed to using.
Well, now saving that last pick, of course, for BDD in the mid side, trying to figure out what Longzhu's game plan is. And where that Swain's going to be. We'll talk about the Caitlyn.
Yeah, I like this composition a lot. Well, Ekko works too. Either way you're going to do it. What you want to do is set up for a 1-3-1 with this composition, with Caitlyn and Graves in that mid lane, and transition the Caitlyn into the mid lane once she gets BF Sword and Hurricane, and just allow Ekko and Swain to 1v1 people in this side lane. So I think this is a good draft from the likes of Longzhu.
We do see Ekko coming through. I mean, that could be a mid lane Ekko. More than likely going to be at the top side. Give them that additional tanky member on the team.
Either way.
They do have some flexibility with this.
Either way it works, right? But it probably will be just because they're going to want the Ekko Maokai matchup. One thing to consider about Longzhu's composition is while they are good at 1-3-1, if it ever goes into late game team fighting and they have to engage, literally their only form of engage is Bartle.
Okay.
So you have to be super careful and use that cooldown properly, or else it's going to be quite difficult. BDD looking at the Varus right now. He realizes that he's going to need some pretty serious wave clear to deal with Graves and Caitlyn.
Yeah. There's not much else from the side of CJ at the moment, so this would be a really good pickup for that.
Well, they actually have sort of drafted themselves into a corner, though, because even though they get the strong wave clear, and they're going to have a very, very powerful mid-game power spike with a lot of the armor penetration coming out of Varus and Lucian, they still are in a bit of a bind if they ever have to deal with the 1-3-1 split push, because they don't have an answer to both Ekko and to Swain. Nobody's going to be able to deal with that, both of those champions at the same time. So as long as Longzhu just keeps their eyes on a wave clear game early and doesn't allow CJ to bully them and knock down their turrets after we see a couple of these Youmuu's ghost plays come out of CJ, they should be able to play a pretty good game of outlasting the members of CJ Entus, especially since they don't really have to build a lot of magic resist against Maokai Nidalee in the late game.
Yeah. Well, gonna find out who's gonna take this one. All down to this, Longzhu versus CJ, and if the first two games have been any signifier, I think we can expect to have another long one coming in.
Well, I actually don't think so, because CJ, they've got great lanes to gank for Nidalee. You have the Chain of Corruption and the Twisted Advance and the Concussive Blows, so really a lot of ways for Haru to gank right here. And CJ's going to be looking to hit that mid-game power spike. If they fail to do that, they will not be able to stop Longzhu from 1-3-1-ing. And any kind of engage will probably just blow them up. A good Bard ultimate with a 3-4 item Caitlyn is going to be lights out for CJ.
Well, I'm sure if CJ get an early lead, they'll just walk into Longzhu's base, get trapped, and then give it all away.
Hey, they still won that game.
They did win that game. But my God, did it go on for longer than it needed to. But just getting loaded up and ready to go here. A lot on the line for CJ. Found their first game win here tonight, looking for the match. We're going to see if they can do it here as we get into game 3. All right, Ocean Drake can kick things off. So some nice sustain to elongate these fights as long as possible.
That's right. Get rid of that poke from both sides. Emperor and Pure licking their lips at the prospect of having this matchup, and Kramer MadLife decide that, you know what, maybe we'll just lane swap after all. Not actually deal with this, and looks like it will not be matched by Longzhu. Yeah, that matchup before you get items is pretty ugly for Lucian and Braum. You're not really going to be able to deal with that much harass easily. Yeah, look at that. We haven't seen that start in a while. Triple saplings into the Raptor Pit.
Yep. Just
to pick up the 3 CS and the experience that comes with it.
Sometimes it interacts a little bit weirdly and the saplings don't get placed properly. You don't get all 3 of them. I've had that happen to me a couple times. But then again, I'm not Untara.
Untara did get all 3.
So good job.
So he lucked out, and will be greedy starts here on the weak side. Ekko's going to get a chance to just walk into lane right here. Same with the Maokai, because both of the support and AD carries are not invading. And they're not actually on the same page right there when it comes to where people are. So the Krug and Gromp starts, that does give the top laners just a little bit of time to pick up some CS, and the junglers just left alone. Mirrored invades. Haru does manage to get away with that one. Looked like it might have been a little bit close.
It was very close. Pure almost able to take that one away. MadLife now going to roam in. It's a little bit later. So you're very much quicker to the punch here. And
He got the little wolf.
No, he didn't. He doesn't have any.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he just missed it.
Looks like MadLife may have gotten something, though.
Yeah.
Does have a CS.
He might have taken away that small one. But for now, it's just going to be a farm fest for both these 80 carries. We'll see if we're going to have any super greedy builds coming out from either side. But if they're not going to match this rotation after the turrets go down, we could just see double cull coming up for both these 80 carries. Yet again.
Oh, boy.
I love it.
I know you do. You love the lane swaps. Well,
It's the highest level of play, man.
I know. That's why I love it. It looks like do have a little bit of an edge here for Longzhu. Haru getting low and now doubling back into the river to pick up the Scuttle Crab thing. Same thing for the Graves, though. And the Varus doing a good job keeping the Swain bottled up early. This is probably not a very friendly matchup for the Swain, considering how close he has to get. And that happens every time.
Especially because he doesn't want to itemize armor anytime soon. Like, the Spirit Visage works out so well for you against a mage in the mid lane because it just gives you that much more innate sustain. But against Varus,
also,
it forces you to get Seeker's Arm Guard early, pretty much.
Yeah, also the Rain of Arrows applies Grievous Wounds. So
yeah.
There's that problem, too, where if you try and actually walk up to him, he can just use that ability to drastically cut your healing.
This is going to be a little bit of a rough one. We'll see how Coco wants to optimize, because I feel like going straight for the Rod of Ages, you're still just going to get heavily punished early on. We'll see. Looks like the swap comes in from Longzhu up to the top. It's going to be mirrored onto the opposite side there by CJ, so still just trying to evade that Caitlyn as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, went for the pickaxe, actually, Emperor, instead of going for the Cull, so he really wants to push an early advantage. That's going to be a delayed Hurricane, too, because he's not going BF Sword into Hurricane, so whether he goes for Infinity Edge first or just sticks with it. Pickaxe Hurricane's really awkward, not great, but I suppose you can do it if you absolutely have to. Depends on how long Coco needs, but they need to get Coco out of this mid lane ASAP, really.
He is not having a very good time right now.
Well, look at him, the global gold instead. How about that?
That works, I suppose.
So this tempo advantage is just going to keep up here for Longzhu, considering that Caitlyn just does have the higher attack damage at this point after the longsword Cole start.
Yeah.
Here from Kramer should make a bit of a difference, but then again, they do actually have their jungler there and their top laner there faster, so things should even out.
Nidalee's going to give that steroid for the attack speed onto Kramer, so that might help make up for the AD discrepancy between the two AD carries.
Yeah, also you have Lucian passive, which is another little helpful thing.
Should be pretty similar-ish times here. It's going to go down.
Yeah, it's going to have proxy this wave. They will be forced to wait a moment as Pure takes a tower shot right there for the next wave to come in. So CJ actually doing work with 4.
Yep. Looking pretty good so far. Chaser, though, this gives him time to just sit in the jungle and continue farming up as Graves wants to do. See, he's just a little bit away from finishing that jungle item, but CJ going to be able to pick up this Ocean Drake, starting things off really early here in 6 minutes.
I do wonder why we saw Coco go for Ghost this game as we see Longzhu. This is the best choice I think they could make.
Yeah.
This is a better choice these days than going back and actually taking the Rift Herald if you have to make some sort of counterplay. So I like what we see them doing. Finally, Chaser gets back up into that top side to lay down some of the damage. Kramer is going to recall after helping with the turret. Are they going to commit to this? They really, really should. And Kramer should not be able to, or be allowed to walk up onto this turret whatsoever.
There's no way. He'll just get locked down immediately. See the parallel convergence just going to zone him back. They will be able to finish it off, so that's going to be an objective gold lead over to Longzhu. A Drake for CJ, but the Ocean not going to be doing so much with them right now.
Not immediately. Not immediately. But giving that up with Lucian Varus would have been a pretty bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Certainly very useful against the poke composition if you're Longzhu to pick up that sustain, so you can just back off and make sure you can still defend turrets a few seconds later on. Coco right now is working through that minion wave. He at least has cut that CS gap by just a little bit. And now that he's more safely able to walk up to the wave after hitting level 6. I was going to say, I am surprised Coco took Ghost in this game instead of TP. Again, the 1-3-1 split push would have been very powerful for them. And sure, it's still an option with Ghost, especially with how fast you move at the very high levels once you get to level 17, 18, and you get that 45% move speed. But still just not quite as good as if you had that TP when it comes to responding to plays from your opponents.
Yeah.
Tricky right there from Pure and Emperor, sticking in the around at the top side lane. Actually, they returned there after the recall. They have the BF sword this time.
Also Kramer, so not only just this mid lane, but Kramer has netted himself a pretty good CS lead over top of Emperor, who has the BF sword now in his inventory. See where he wants to take this. I have to imagine that he's going to be going for the Zeal next.
Yeah, I would definitely assume that's going to be the case. One thing we haven't pointed out is that Chaser is absolutely wrecking Haru in the jungle right now. Haru had to be there because Longzhu had such a big... Oh, nice dodge.
Yep. We'll get slowed out by that rain of arrows, but not going to get caught by the piercing.
So while we saw that Haru had to descend into that bottom lane to take the turret because they were so far behind on Longzhu, that has now, and he took the dragon, that has now resulted in Chaser getting a huge, huge boost up. 50 CS already here at 9 minutes. And accelerating this Graves is something that's very scary for CJ.
Yeah.
Because the more damage he gets, the better he's going to be able to clear out waves when they try and set up their sieges. And he's a major threat to the backline with that collateral damage. So that's going to be pretty nice for them. A level up also. You see 500 gold approximately his edge right now.
Yep. Parallel convergence. Oh, nice takeaway there by Haru. Using the spear to steal out that Gromp away from Chaser. But also good for both of these top laners. So we're not seeing a massive discrepancy in CS between these guys like we saw earlier on in the series. So both of them going to be kicking things off pretty close to each other. Have pretty much mirrored buys at least so far with the Dark Seal and Doran's Ring. So things going pretty well for everyone overall.
Yeah, nobody obviously with a clear lead yet, but we're getting to the point in about 10 minutes that we need to start seeing things from CJ. They need to start pushing their item power spikes if they actually want to take this into the late game, because dealing with Longzhu late is going to be quite troublesome for them when Longzhu has such a freedom to itemize into armor instead of magic resist and be very, very heavy on the statistics, and then BDD and Kramer just naturally going to fall off over time, especially since we are seeing the Youmuu's build here first from Kramer. They've got to really group up, use the culling and the piercing arrow to start zoning people off turrets, getting those free hits in, and taking that advantage.
Yeah. So he's just the one longsword so far for BDD, but I can imagine that this will be a Dirk for him as well on his recall. So it'll just be double Youmuu's for the mid and AD carry. Actually, it's going to be a very early completion on the Manamune. So
yeah, he's under no threat, so getting that up and available to be stacking as fast as possible, I do think has a certain level of value in it. Still going to have no problem with the wave clear. It can be a little bit farther back, or just delay the purchase of any kind of arm penetration for a little bit. Not going to be the biggest deal in the world. Chaser actually going for Skirmisher Saber on the Graves. There's another rarity. Typically don't see that item. Usually we do see the Tracker's Knife on the Graves these days.
Chaser going to try his hand at getting this Gromp yet again. He'll be able to take the hit this time. No spear going to come out from Haru, who has yet to really make much of an impact in any of these lanes. Just really going down to secure the turrets with the rest of his teammates. Hasn't been going for these ganks anywhere.
Yeah, hasn't had very much opportunity here at 11, 12 minutes, considering that we did have the lane swap to start this game off. So he hasn't been in exactly the best situation to get the ganks rolling. And now looks like we are going to have a little bit of a contest here for the next Drake. Longzhu prepping some vision on the bottom side of the river and taking a look at that. Recall now from Chaser, just making sure he's got his Warrior Enchant and his Hex Drinker complete already. Hex Drinker a little bit weird to get at this point in the game. I don't see why you would need that right now. Rushing that item when you're against a Varus and a Lucian.
Yeah, just the Nidalee, the only AP threat's pretty bizarre.
I mean, if he really wants to duel with the Nidalee with Skirmisher Saber and with a Hex Drinker, then absolutely. But
He's not been finding many of those opportunities quite just yet.
yeah, exactly. Especially when you're going into a dragon, too. We'll see what he can do with it.
Well, everybody bunching up here. Expession still on the top side. Going to be looking to push that lane back. Has the TP available. All of CJ, though, already clumped up in this mid lane. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to find any sort of engage, so it's really just going to be tiptoeing back and forth while Expession gets some solo experience.
Yeah, there's no threat in the top lane either. Longzhu can't really do much with his Ekko because they already took down the tier 2 turret and traded it for the first Drake. And even then, CJ has managed to catch up mostly through farm advantages in the bottom and the mid lane. So Longzhu also lost all of their wards now that they had previously set up and put down to help facilitate this dragon attempt. All right, well, Maokai now forced into the top side, but he's always going to have the priority for teleport anyway.
Yeah. So no commitment quite just yet. We see the recalls coming out here as Pure goes back, but CJ unaware, not really going to be going for it. Nice chunk there on the Emperor. But yeah, not going to be so quick to pull the trigger on that Infernal Drake. Securing that one going to be really important for either side, so nobody wants to mess that up. So.
Yeah, it's actually absolutely huge for CJ if they can pick this one up.
So much more poke damage.
Yeah, they would love to have that.
Oh, Coco waiting in the brush here. Kramer might be getting pinched on. It's going to be the ghost pop here. Kramer trying to run away. Will not get stunned up by that Bard. Huge amount of damage to do. He gets caught by the Never Move, but they still are able to pop Coco. The Bard ultimate comes through, locks down Kramer. Expession there to jump on top of him. He will be able to secure the kill. Now Untara by himself. Emperor on the run. Takes a huge chunk from Haru, who leaps in with the passive, able to finalize that kill. CJ so far going to be finding a 2-for-1. Still not backing down quite just yet, but BDD taking a hell of a lot of damage.
Where's the
Has
W?
The blue buff, though. Expession on the run still has the ultimate, takes a bunch from that piercing arrow. Spear comes through, but they just cannot catch him. He gets the speed up from the Bard, but that could just be the Drake going over to CJ now.
Wow, that Bard ultimate was so bad from Pure in that fight because it was not used at the right time. When you look at what was going on, Coco was trying for a pick with a Swain. That's like never going to work because you just don't have the damage or the crowd control. You sort of run at them with Ghost. Let's take a look at that. So here's what happens. Coco's going to pop in, try and actually get this down, but Kramer's able just to dash right out of it. Does actually get hit by the root, but this is so delayed. And all this does is allow the other members of CJ to catch right back up with Longzhu when they have this Varus that is doing a huge amount of damage right now. And it was an easy kill for Haru too. So basically that Bard ult just bought Longzhu time. Or CJ time, right? Yeah, CJ time to get together, get grouped, and to win that team fight.
Yeah.
I also don't know what Emperor was doing in the top side of the river because we didn't get to see where he came from. He sort of just appeared with half HP and no mana.
Well, he walked in and then just took a very fat spear to the face. They made quick work of him, but it's going to be the second Drake of the game going over to CJ. Infernal this time. And like we mentioned, it's going to be really useful for BDD and Haru with their
and they're just nailing this
damage.
timing, man. Like, look at this. Get together. Side waves are in a great place for them.
They know Expession's top.
Yeah, he's not threatening any turret anytime soon. He's not really going to threaten an inhibitor turret at this early point in the game. Untara will have to peel off, but with both TPs down, they can continue to work away at this ever so slowly, although somebody is going to have to go clear out the bottom side eventually.
Yeah.
So that's actually probably best for them. When you take a look at the side waves to back off at this point in time, make sure they're not going to be losing too much farm.
And yet again, look at this really early itemization from BDD, just looking for the grievous wounds in addition to the hail of arrows. So just going for that 800 gold pickup to just keep denying Coco that regen on this lane.
I think this is just going to happen more and more frequently on this patch as we see... What?
MadLife, what?
It's just a joke, bro. It was just a joke.
Yeah, just a prank. Just trying to screw with his mid laner there.
He wanted to do the fancy thing where, like, while he was
Block
flying
in midair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Zac drive-by smite on the Baron pit.
He's trying to be a secret agent right there, or a secret service member, just like diving in front of the bullet. Wow.
That's funny. Well, Longzhu gonna look for the best of a bad situation and go over toward this Rift Herald. Of course, not gonna grant them any gold at this point.
I don't think they want to do this.
Yeah, this might be really questionable. Expession and Emperor are both super low. They're gonna get sent off of it. So Longzhu really faltering as far as the
If they lose mid turret because of this, I am going to tilt to the moon.
I'm sure they are as well. So you can say hi to them for me. But they still have a decent bit of wave clear coming out, so only gonna be a little bit of damage as Coco gets grabbed up by that arrow. Bard ultimate comes through, catches 3, but they can't capitalize on any of this, so it's really just gonna delay them taking out the turret, but they're still just gonna stick around and wait for this wave to crash.
Yeah, Ember did have a chance to recall now. He's still waiting on that Runin's Hurricane. Actually, he's gonna go recurve bow and then Infinity Edge. Okay. That's weird.
Expession uses the ultimate to snap back into mid lane to try to offer up some more wave clear. Nice Unbreakable there by MadLife, blocks the collateral damage. That's going to allow for a little bit more time. Auto attacks in onto the turret. CJ should be able to secure this objective. So, you now have my permission to tilt to the moon.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But had they actually defended that and sent Emperor back earlier and pushed up the wave, they probably wouldn't have lost that mid lane turret for a couple more minutes at the very least. I just don't know what the goal of getting that Rift Herald buff was. I suppose they really just wanted it on Expession so he could split push against the Maokai.
Would you like to really tilt? You can take a look at Emperor's build path.
It's not. Oh, come on! It's not that bad.
But you didn't go. You're supposed to go for the Zeal, man. BF sword, then the Zeal, then the IE.
Oh yeah, I was talking about that earlier. Sorry. Yes, you're absolutely right. The fact that he went recurve, I said that before that fight started. The fact that he went for recurve and then the crit cloak is really weird because what they need him to do is wave clear in mid.
Yeah.
They really need him to do that. Because right now, as it stands, Coco has to walk up to the wave to clear, and when he does that, he's going to just get hit by arrows and spears. So it doesn't. It's great that he has all the sustain, but he is going to take a lot of burst and probably not be able to do it thanks to the rain of arrows. So yes, getting that Hurricane is really, really important, and it has been circumvented entirely in this build.
Yep. I don't know. Longzhu making a lot of really strange decisions so far. See them hovering around this brush, trying to find a pick, maybe using Emperor a little bit as bait in that bottom side, but CJ aren't going to bite.
Yep. Well, Emperor at least is getting something done right here. And they are playing around the pressure well. So they've left CJ still waiting. I mean, we're still waiting on that little bit of a power spike. Once BDD completes the Yomus and the Muramana, and we see that Black Cleaver coming from Kramer, it is going to be...
Oh my Emperor! God! Emperor just getting absolutely blown up. Chaser on the other side of things is going to go down. Kramer finds that kill. Wow, that was a ton of damage onto the Caitlyn.
Jeez. The catch right there was just huge from the side of CJ.
Really great.
Great chain of corruption there from BDD to set that up, and now they may get another Infernal Drake here in 21 minutes.
That is absolutely filthy. 16% increase ADAB. And for a Nidalee and a Varus.
And this is one of those things when we talk about the Varus.
Drake now.
We talk about the Varus and the Lucian falling off. Just great comment. Oh my god.
Didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, also on the other side, Chaser, Chaser rather, gets caught out alone, and the rest of the crowd control comes through, and that's the power of CJ's composition. They have a lot of single target CC, so if you get caught alone like that, it's quite easy to die.
Yep.
And now that they have this 16% increase, like I said, we were going to say, okay, well, the Varus and the Lucian are going to fall off with these builds in the late game. Well, guess what? They're not anymore. They're definitely not anymore.
Yeah.
And there's not even a way that Longzhu can really come back with this either, because with the Mountain Drake next, if CJ gets that one too, this is nightmare fuel. These are the dragons you don't want CJ to get if you're Longzhu.
Yeah.
First two, Ocean, double Infernal, and if they get a Mountain too, they would have to seriously misplay their sieges in order to lose this game.
Oh, wow, Kramer just feeling confident. Goes straight in on the Emperor. Almost finishes him off, if not for the body block from Pure.
Yep, Black Cleaver's done. He's got 16% extra damage. He is ready to rock, man. He nearly just one-shot Emperor right there.
That's pretty brutal.
And Emperor doesn't have the wave clear still. He completed the Infinity Edge, so we're still waiting on the Runaan's Hurricane.
Yep. Still trying to complete the Zeal, which he'll get right there, so still going to be a couple hundred away from the Runaans.
Oh, nice delay, too.
Yeah, Haru spotting that out, throws in the spear. And this is CJ playing so much better. Where was this CJ from game 1?
I think CJ played pretty well in game number 2. Again, with the exception of getting trapped in the base.
Yeah, but game 1, it looked like a chicken with its head cut off. Now it's like...
Well, they banned the Vlad. That was the key. They just didn't understand it. So and sometimes you have to do that. Yes, it looks silly that they banned the Vlad and the Swain in game number 2 and banned the Vlad again. And yes, they had the tools to deal with it. But if you don't know how to deal with it, you can't execute it.
Oh boy, Untara in a bad spot. He's going to get stunned up by this parallel convergence. And Expession still pretty healthy. Still has that mana. It could just be a solo kill, and it will be.
Wow.
So,
well, that's going to relieve a lot of pressure.
Yeah. That's a nice little pickup there from Longzhu. So Expession trying to make up for the shortcomings of the rest of his team.
Actually, CJ could have just followed back and started the Baron right there, realistically. Because neither of the top laners had TP, and as long as Expession is just going to try and commit to a solo kill, and there were no wards at all from the members of Longzhu, so I think you could have forced them to face check a brush into a Chain of Corruption right there at the very least. You don't even have to start it, because the wave was already at the tier 2 in the mid and the top side. So a bit of a missed opportunity there from the likes of CJ Entus to really make something out of that situation.
Good stuff. But still a long ways to go before they can get themselves comfortably back into this game. It's only 3.2 thousand separating them, but the double Infernal Drake is so daunting. Especially with Mountain on its way. Oh, he got the seal.
Yeah, Haru actually gets that one.
It was the proc.
It was the proc on the runic Ekko.
Chaser's just got to be tilted at this point. He's lost so many things. And look at this chase coming in from Kramer. Dashes forward, forces out the flash from Emperor. That should be a damn near a turret going down.
No, they don't actually have to go for it right
there.
now. Just go for the mid lane instead. You have the fast track through the enemy jungle. Look how much damage BDD's doing to it.
Yeah.
Gets it down already to nearly dead. And they're going to try and TP. This is a desperation play, but CJ knows it's coming.
Yeah, and they have their way out of here. And Tara's still holding on to hits on the top side. They're just going to ping for this mid and wrap around and defend. Meanwhile, Kramer just takes out the tier 2 bot.
Untara doesn't even care. He doesn't even TP in response because the TP was in such a poor location. They had nowhere on the bottom side of the map to TP to.
They also just don't have anything to do. They couldn't even take that TP and say, okay, let's take the tier 1. They still have Emperor in the bottom side.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's no chance of a tower take. So Longzhu are just completely flopping around the map.
Well, a Hurricane is done at least here. For the likes of Emperor. Well, that actually is important for any kind of defense that they're going to mount and their wave control, because that's what they were lacking, is
it's just hitting
any way to clear a wave, because Swain can't walk up and neither can Ekko.
Yeah, it's just nearing that point of too little too late.
Yes.
Which is the bad thing.
Yes, it is. Although they're only 4,000 down, so it's not. There is some light at the end of the tunnel.
It's really going to come down to this next dragon, though. If CJ gets the Mountain
the double
Drake,
Infernal is also really bad at this point. Like, really, really bad. So Mortal Reminder now done for BDD, taking away some more of those.
There's chance of a triple Infernal.
Yes, there is.
There's enough time.
There is enough time, as long as they take this at spawn. Which you imagine would be the priority.
Yeah. I mean, they need to get some more wards down on that bottom side right now. CJ's vision is lacking. All of Longzhu's is just relegated within their own jungle.
But at least they have the pressure.
Yeah.
And they still have their mid lane turret, so it will be somewhat difficult for them to lose this.
Yeah.
They're still feeling quite good about this power spike.
Oh, Kramer dashes out of that one. The Bard ultimate not going to connect as he flashes away. MadLife up in the front side trying to block all of this damage coming through with the Unbreakable. Kramer does fire out the culling, get some good damage in onto the Graves.
They missed the Chain of Corruption right there. Had BDD landed that, that would have been a very different engage, and they probably could have locked somebody down. Also, Untara not in the best position at the start of that fight. They still get decent poke damage down, but that could have been a lot better for CJ.
Yeah, well, they'll be able to recuperate any damage that they took because they do have that Ocean Drake at the moment, and you can see the onslaught of poke is still coming through, just not quite finding the targets just yet. They will get the Scuttle Crab, but they chunk out Emperor, and that should be an opening.
Yeah, he has
here
no
for CJ.
lifesteal right now, so his options to get back into this fight are extremely limited. Bard health packs.
They almost have the Chain of Corruption again. It's already 3/4 of the way off cooldown.
Cooldown on that one.
Dragon resetting, though, not doing good things for CJ. Coco looking like he wants to pinch in from the bottom side. Parallel convergence gets thrown out. They go in. They're not able to find the catch. Chaser takes a ton of damage, though, from the Piercing Arrow. He's going to send him packing. Meanwhile, they go into Coco, who already used the Zonias. Will heal up the full HP, and it looks like Longzhu. No, they don't confirm it. Haru comes in with the steal, and that is going to be Coco going down. And with that, I'm pretty sure it's just about the last nail in the coffin here for Longzhu, as CJ are just looking so concise in this game.
Wow, Chaser did not actually smite that. So Haru just waltzed in and ended up taking the Mountain Drake. Absolutely a huge takeaway. And there will be another Drake actually before that.
Yeah. Didn't get the spot.
Elder Dragon spawn. Yeah, I didn't see which one it was either.
They can just go for a bait here, though.
Yep, this is what they should have been doing earlier, actually, when Untara was dying.
Yep. Oh, well, here we go. Grab up onto Expession. Still has the ultimate available. They lock him down the Chain of Corruption. He can't do a damn thing. He falls. Haru finds the kill. And 2 members down. Coco getting ready to come back up.
Watch how
but
fast
no
this
TP.
Baron goes with 2 Infernals and a Mountain.
Yep. It's already below half HP. Bar ultimate comes through. Will delay at Chaser on the backside. Gonna get spotted out by the ward. He's just way too low to go for this one. Has to go in. Doesn't find it. And he's gonna die at the same time. And I think CJ win this one.
I think they do too, and this has been a much more encouraging game for the likes of CJ Entus.
CJ fans can rejoice for the time being. We'll see if they manage to throw this. But
Haru's had a couple of actually pretty good games on Kindred and Nidalee now.
Yeah.
So
too bad it's 2 of the most banned champions in
and
LCK right now.
Also, CJ, how have they been winning these last 2 games? By having early pressure on the map and by taking dragons. Remember, CJ came into this game with the lowest dragon percentage of any team in this league. They were only taking 30% of dragons. And the last couple, they've managed to really inflate that number, make sure that they get 100% of the dragons in this game. And it's definitely working out a lot better when they've shown much more of a bite in the early game.
Yeah. And this goes completely against what CJ used to do last split, where they found their victories, which was hold on as long as possible, have Kramer and BDD try to play around the late game. Now, they're finally able to start adapting to this early game. They come out swinging, and they're finding success, so this is a good transition for CJ. If they can keep this up and bring this level of play into their other matches, they could actually rise back into the middle of the pack and maybe find a playoff spot by the end of this split.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. So
I won't hold my breath on it.
I wouldn't hold my breath on it either.
But it's possible.
You never know. So here we go. Another turret will be falling immediately.
Yeah, well, Kramer going to go in. Look at Chaser taking all of that damage. And he is going to have to go chase straight back. Wow. I didn't even get to see the majority of that, actually. Looks like he just got caught by the Piercing Arrow.
Yeah, not even Seed right there.
Flipped him right in the ass, and he goes down.
Took some of the culling, and at this point, with the amount of damage that's coming out of BDD and Kramer, you have to be extremely respectful
Look at this.
of their poke.
Untara is drawing 3 members into this bottom side. They won't kill him, and they're going to lose an inhibitor for it. Oh, okay,
No,
maybe they
they'll
will
kill
kill him. They will kill him, but at what cost?
Yes, at what cost indeed. They're probably going to lose 2 inhibitors, actually, depending on how hard they want to go for this. 10 seconds left on the Caitlyn. They may just decide that's a worthy enough trade, though, with the advantage that they have, and avoid making any further mistakes.
They see Coco on the sidelines. They might be able to get a pick onto him. No, he's just going to head back off into mid. but they take away the blue, so CJ just ripping everything out of the grasp of Longzhu.
Uh-oh. They're going to try for this one.
He doesn't have a ghost. Haru makes it over the wall. They might just leave him out of the base and go straight back in for the inhibitor.
Yeah, if they've cut 2 people off right here, they can get some really good damage down onto the inhib. Untara's going to be coming back up in 8 seconds, and he has TP, so you might as well just continue this siege.
Here's the trap god. They're just going to try to break this trap line as best as they can. Kramer going in, getting the damage through. They should be able to finish this. TP's coming in from Untara. 2 members get caught by that Bard ultimate. It's going to be BDD and Haru, and they blow BDD completely up. Now Untara in this front line, and MadLife having to hightail it out of here. This could be a fight that Longzhu can actually win. Haru jumps over the ball, but there's Pierre to meet him. He's going to get caught up, and it looks like he's going to go down. He falls. That's going to be Coco finding the kill. A 2 for 0 so far. Several members of CJ quite low. They have to back off. This could be a time for Longzhu to pinch back in and maybe get some turrets.
Yeah, they needed to wait for Untara to TP until they actually started assaulting that inhibitor, and instead he does use it as soon as he's able, but can't quite get into position, and they do catch out BDD because Maokai wasn't there to zone. But still, Longzhu does something right now. They did get a Bard ultimate off. We talked about at the start of this game that that's really their only form of engage, and they do make it work. So there you go. People trying to get out, and just barely, especially the Nidalee, not escaping that one. Untara comes in, but BDD caught on the periphery and instantly exploded. They're also able to take out Haru. He does attempt to flash over the wall, but Magical Journey there to help catch him out, and that's going to be it. So Pure keeping his team in this game, but really for how much longer? We've got 35 seconds on the next Drake.
They got 1 tower from all of that, just the tier 1 in the mid side, so they don't pick up too much. The inhibitor is still standing in mid, but it's going to be another Ocean Drake, so double Ocean, double Infernal, and a Mountain potentially here for CJ.
And then just the sheer terror of if they actually get an Elder Dragon in this game, what that's going to do to this composition. BDD now, by the way, has a Mercurial Scimitar. QSS already onto Kramer, so they're really whittling away the options that Longzhu has to catch them out. Although really, what are they trying to QSS here?
I'm not sure.
Those are actually not good items against Longzhu's composition.
I guess the Never Move and the Parallel Convergence, but that's about it.
Like Cosmic Binding? You shouldn't get hit. If you're Caitlyn, you shouldn't get hit by the Parallel Convergence anyway. One would suppose. So that seems like perhaps an overly cautious itemization choice there by BDD and by Kramer. Like, what are you going to get hit by?
I don't know. Well, maybe just looking to pick up the Mercurial for the sake of getting cleansed out of those rare occasions, but also having that lifesteal without having to buy a dedicated item.
I think it makes more sense for BDD because of the Bard, but when you're Lucian, I probably should not be getting hit by Cosmic Bindings no matter what. So,
Expession and Pure looking for a gank on the sidelines, but they're spotted, so they throw out that spear, and now you can see just CJ pushing in, trying to get this. The Bard ultimate not going to connect onto anybody this time. Just catching a couple minions, and that will be this inhibitor going down in the mid side. CJ going to be happy with that. Going to back off and push in this bottom wave, maybe looking for a third inhib.
Yeah,
they just break that. The Baron spawns in 50 seconds. They could just take that for free.
Yeah, they don't have to do anything. All they have to do right now is play super cautiously. There's no TP, or there is a TP up for Expession, but he's Ekko, so he's not going to have a particularly powerful flank attack. So as long as they can just play with the poke right now, if you can get this turret, okay. If you can't, you shouldn't overcommit to it. Don't overcommit to it.
Well, it's going to be a Never Move coming in the backside. Not able to find anybody. MadLife stuck up in the front. He will go down here. Chaser's going to be the ones finding the kill. They almost take out Expession's GA. But that's just going to be a pick for the turret here for Longzhu.
Why? Why go for that? They played so far up. They started face tanking the turret with Maokai. You don't have to take that inhibitor turret right now. Your main goal is to distract them so the super minion waves move into their base so that you can go and take that Baron.
You also have all of the poke in the world, so why not just play it cautious, play it patient, poke them out with the piercing arrows, with the Nidalee spears, and then try to go in once you've worked them down.
Yeah, everything else is gravy at that point. Your goal is get super minions into their base and then take Baron. That is your goal. You don't need to go take that inhibitor turret when you already have 2 inhibs down. Now 1 inhibitor is coming back up, and you've given Longzhu a chance to get back into this game with a Baron.
Yeah, they're going to go for this one. Chaser's still sitting in the pit, taking a lot of damage just from the Baron itself. You see Expession.
Oh my.
Wow, Expession channels the TP. Ryze too late to really help them solidify that. They just have to back off, and Emperor taking that much damage. That's going to be pretty detrimental. We can see the wave crashing in. You're going to start whittling down this top inhibitor, and the super creeps also moving on to the Nexus turrets.
Yeah, now
That
CJ can do this.
Yeah.
Fortunately for CJ, they had such a huge lead that they weren't able to throw the game by doing something like that, and they only lost one person, and it was MadLife, the support player. But that's the kind of situation that you really need more discipline to enact, because you just have to know patience. We've already got this game. As long as we play it out properly, there's virtually no chance for them to come back. They can't even do anything like have a crazy teleport flank, because Ekko is really bad at doing that in the first place. So the ways for them to lose this game were so few, and they nearly found one of them.
Well, if that's the worst thing that happens in this game for CJ, I think they'll be pretty happy by the end of it. Still a little bit of time, though, for them to screw something up. 10,000 gold lead, though. Up 5 turrets and 5 dragons as well. They're looking really poised to be able to take this out. Moving in, take down this inhibitor yet again. Flash away by BDD will keep him out of that Bard ultimate. Haru, though, does get caught. He's getting locked up in the front line. It's going to be the Glacial Fisher coming across. They lock up Expession. They're going to get the Guardian Angel out of him. Emperor trying to do some damage, but he's only able to hit Untara, who goes in deep onto Expession, locks him up, and they take him down. Kramer finding the kill. Now straight over onto the inhibitor. Super Creeps pushing in with the Baron buff. I think this is going to be the end of the game here for CJ Entus.
Yeah, sure looks like it, and Expession didn't even have time to use his Chrono Braid in that fight.
Kramer going forward, finds Chaser, takes him down. Emperor down as well, and Coco just having to retreat back to the base. CJ Entus gonna get one on the board here, finishing out this game at the 39-minute mark, taking down Longzhu in a 2-1 series.
And not only do they get their first best-of-3 win, but they got their first game win in this series too. So you'd have to imagine that this is going to be somewhat of a morale booster for CJ, who had so far gone 0-6 in games and 0-3 in best-of-3s. Well, they show up tonight. They actually play aggressively in games number 2 and 3 in the early game. They did have some slip-ups, but they also showed some pretty decent plays as well, as we see BDD, of course, on that Varus, topping out the damage charts.
Breaking out the 1,000 damage per minute line with Varus. And look at the numbers from Longzhu. These are just absolutely pitiful amounts of damage, really, compared to that of CJ Entus.
Well, I mean, that's what you expect when this game. You see the double Infernal and the Mountain Drake go over. You get to see CJ picking up an early Baron and really pushing their advantage. They're never going to be in range. They're always just going to get poked out by the Varus.
It's just so shocking.